Yeah, thank you, and good afternoon to all my brothers and sisters there in South Africa. First, let me congratulate AMC International on organizing the fifth in the series of these quality assurance conferences. I've attended one of them, I think last year, and I must say that I had very enriching time. I learned a lot from colleagues from all over the region, that's Africa, and I was able to share the little that I know about the subject. I'm unable to join you today on account of some logistical issues, but I'm able to join you now. It's a pity I couldn't join you for lunch because I wasn't invited by Amanda for lunch, but I was present virtually in your dining area. You didn't see me, but I could perceive the aroma, the rich aroma of the food that you ate. So in the next couple of minutes, as you can see on the program, I'm to share with you some of my thoughts on best practices in quality assurance and accreditation within the Pan-African Quality Assurance and Accreditation Framework. Can I ask, are you hearing me loud and clear, or is there some challenge?
Okay, very good, sir.
Very good. Now, I am going to be using a slide from here, which you cannot see, but I assure you that as soon as this session is over, I will email the slide to Amanda, who will share with everybody. I'm also trying to record the session so that when I upload, you can still play it back, and you will find that interaction had been worth the while. So what do I intend to do? First, I want to update you on what the Pan-African Quality Assurance and Accreditation Framework is about. It is PAQAF for short, the acronym PAQAF, P-A-Q-A-F, Pan-African Quality Assurance and Accreditation Framework. So what I tend to do is to let you know what has stimulated that regional agenda. And then I'll tell you the story from the beginning, so to speak, and I'll let you know where we are now and what the next steps are within the boundaries of what I've called best practices. So there'll be 3 presentations in one. I tend to make this presentation to last about 30 minutes or less. And then we can take question and answer from... excuse me? The 1 minute, please. Now I'm continuing. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, very well. So I was telling the story from the beginning, the story of the Pan-African Quality Assurance Framework. And I did say, that I will give my segment of it, and the other one by Dr. Johannes Wolentase, and the other one by the APAQAF people. So the African Union, getting support from the European Union, wanted to have the quality assurance setup within the Africa region to have some commonalities teased out and put in a framework. And I was contracted by the African Union and European Union to conduct a feasibility study of the possibility of having this PAQAF in place. So I had Bart Fontaine as my co-researcher, and what we were asked to do was to review the status of higher education quality assurance in Africa. By the way, I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to send you slides and send you our full report, which you'll find as a very, very useful resource as you progress in your quality assurance activities. We're also asked to examine the mechanisms for accrediting higher education institutions in the whole of Africa and to analyze the procedures. One very important thing we're asked to do was to identify international good practices in quality assurance and accreditation that we can learn lessons from in Africa as we develop PAQAF, and to make recommendations. And we were to draft a pan-African quality assurance and accreditation framework that is based on the analysis of our findings. So what did we do? I'm telling you the story from the beginning, as I said. We surveyed 6 countries: Egypt, Kenya, Mozambique, Nigeria, Senegal, and South Africa. And these were selected for different systems in the African continent. We also looked at 2 regional frameworks. CAMES, as you know, covers 19 Francophone African countries in terms of quality assurance. And we also looked at the Inter-University Council for East Africa, representing the Anglophone segment. And we compared all of these with quality assurance in Asia, Europe, and North America. What were our findings? We found that there are a number of drivers of quality in Africa since 2000, since about 17 years ago. We found that there is a rising demand by the public for all of you that are seated there to deliver better in terms of quality of graduates. They were expecting that our universities and other higher education institutions should produce graduates that are nationally relevant and globally competitive, that the higher education systems should perform better than it is doing. Now, one other driver is enrollment. There's a lot of enrollment pressure. You know, the absorptive capacity of the higher education system is not able to take on the large volume of candidates angling to come into the universities or higher education system. And we need better quality graduates to drive the economy. In the midst of all of this, you and I, in the quality assurance business, we're not getting enough resources to deliver. So we have dwindling public resources for higher education. And then we notice that in Africa, we have quite a lot of cross-border provisions, people moving from Africa to Europe and all of that. And then one other driver is the forces of globalization. So these were our findings with regard to drivers. And I have a slide here which you're going to get later and you find it is quite enriching. For Egypt, for Kenya, for Mozambique, for Nigeria, for Senegal, for South Africa, for CAMES, covering 19 Francophone countries, and for IUCEA in East Africa, we have the following: the types of accreditation that is conducted, the degrees of obligation, the accreditation process, the participants in the accreditation process, the funding, the maximum validity for accreditation. In other words, if you say a program is accredited, how long will that status last? And then the accreditation labels. Our studies also showed challenges to quality assurance. We found the following to be the 3 most important challenges to quality assurance in higher education in Africa. Funding. The proprietors of the institutions, either private or public, are not able to provide the resources, especially financing, to drive quality. They have human capacity deficit. I've not seen one country of all the ones I will study that can boast of teachers that can teachers of the right quality and quantity to match the quality assurance of expectations of the country. So we also have political through governmental interference. We proposed some possible steps for the establishment of PAQAF. Yes? Am I going too fast?
You are cutting, just a second, please.
So I talked about the possible steps for establishing the framework that our study revealed, that it has to have endorsement by member countries. In other words, all of you that are seated there from X number of countries, I don't know how many, your countries must be able to sign on to this PAQAF. PAQAF is Pan-African Quality Assurance and Accreditation Framework. You must be able to have a legal framework for it and other things that I've listed on this slide. Now, there are some threats to the establishment of PAQAF, which we noted, and these are derived from what the experiences of CAMES and IUCA, were like. And we listed this as resistance by some stakeholders to have a supraordinate quality assurance body. Let me give you an example from Nigeria. Nigeria, we have the National Universities Commission, which is the accrediting agency, is a regulatory agency for all universities in Nigeria. Amanda, are you still reaching? Am I still reaching you people?
Yes, we're still good.
Is it still breaking?
No, we're good.
Okay, that's fine. So the National Universities Commission, as I said, was established in 1964 as a regulatory agency for all universities in Nigeria. Now, 16 years ago, actually 17 years ago, I was the executive secretary of that commission. And we accredit all universities. So a university can decide to take our accreditation, as we now have a continental body. As soon as it is set up, any of the 153 universities that we have in Nigeria can say, oh yes, I want to get my university to be part of the continental accreditation. So it will be optional. But I know that there is no university in Nigeria, indeed, in any part of Africa, that will not want its programs to have recognition at the level of the continent. Maybe on the side, let me let you know that UNESCO is also working on something that is global. This PAQAF thing is Africa. UNESCO is working on something that is global. I'm also part of that activity. In other words, a time will come, maybe the next 5, maybe 10 years, when you have 3 levels of accreditation. In your country, maybe in Botswana with Dr. Mabel there, your university may say, yes, I just want the accreditation from the Botswana Regulatory Agency. You may say, yes, I also want the one for Africa. And then you may say, I want the one for the global. That is the direction that things are turning. We find that there could be constraints of funding for PAQAF and also deficit of capacity. But things are moving quite fast. And I'm shifting now to the presentation made by Dr. Johannes Woldentense, who is a senior education expert in the African Union Commission. This presentation is the update on where we are with regard to PAQAF. It was delivered only last week at our 9th International Conference on Quality Assurance in Higher Education in Africa in Accra. So what does Johannes say? Johannes is telling us that the vision of Africa is to have systems, especially higher education systems, harmonized. There is something called the Continental Education Strategy for Africa, CESA for as the acronym CESA. That's the way it is called. By the way, Amanda, please tell all my friends and colleagues who are there that there's going to be a test at the end of this presentation. I'm going to give them a test. So you better be watching out for the meaning of PAQAF and CESA and all of that. So Johannes is saying that the African Union wants to have all of us, come together. Let's have a system that is harmonized in a way that somebody who graduates from South Africa won't be recognized by somebody who graduates from Nigeria or Botswana or Mozambique or any of the Francophone countries and all of that. So there's that continental education strategy. And their harmonization strategy has a number of components that I have on this slide that you will get at the end of this presentation. You have political commitment to it. We have the Addis Convention. In 1984, that Addis Convention was prefaced by what we call the Arusha Convention, actually 1983. It is now the Addis Convention after it has been modified. We're going to have joint curriculum student mobility, and all the other things that I have here. So we know now that there is no continental mechanism for QA and accreditation. In other words, we do not have that body, and there's a need to have one under the aegis of the Continental Education Strategy, the CESA thing I mentioned. So PAQAF is meant to move us in that direction. So what has happened? After we submitted our report, the report was taken to different levels of validation. And I'm happy to let you know that our report was validated at the national level all over Africa by regional quality assurance agencies, and it was endorsed by ministers of education. All of us that are seated there, all your ministers approved this PAQAF. So there's no escape, no running away from it. And then all the presidents of countries in Africa met in January of last year, AU Assembly, to approve the PAQAF. So that has moved very, very far. And the Continental Accreditation Agency will be the last leg of this. So there are a number of instruments that are been derived from PAQAF. And you have the African Standards and Guidelines for Quality Assurance, ASG for short. We have the Continental Qualifications Framework. We have the African Quality Rating Mechanism. You have the Addis Convention that I mentioned a little while ago. And then you have the African Credit Accumulation and Transfer System. This is very important. Let's take somebody who, in a 4-year program in Cameroon, has finished a 3-year part of the 4-year program, now wants to go to Ghana. We don't have a mechanism right now where you can accumulate and then transfer. There's no protocol that approves it. But this one, the African Credit Accumulation and Transfer System, will let that to happen. We're also going to have what we call the Continental Register for QA agencies and all the higher education institutions that are in the within the boundaries of such quality assurance agencies. The agency to implement it is the Pan-African Quality Assurance and Accreditation Agency. So, to make that to happen, the African Union has approved what we call the AQUA initiative. AQUA is harmonization of quality of African higher education quality assurance and accreditation. Harmonization of African higher education quality assurance and accreditation, AQUA. That's the initiative. Now, that initiative is to support the takeoff of PAQAF, and is expected to be implemented from last year, 2016, to 2019. Now, there's a consortium that's implementing it, and an advisory board. Now, what is AQUA supposed to do? Let me summarize where I am at the moment. I said from the beginning, the African Union will want all of us in Africa to be nicely, to be friends in quality assurance, to handshake with ourselves, have something that is common and harmonized. So we were contracted to do the study. We submitted our findings and made our recommendations. The recommendations were approved by the ministers, were approved by the heads of state, and in order to implement it, the AQUA initiative was put in place to support PAQAF. And the consortium is made up of, the consortium is based in Barcelona, University of Barcelona, and it has an advisory board with African Union Commission, that's AUC, the European Commission, and regional organizations. So, what are the main outcomes? The main outcomes, we have the African Standards and Guidelines for Quality Assurance. We have the institutional assessments of higher education using EQRM. Please just give me 1 minute. And then there's provision for training for quality assurance. I'm almost there. I said I'm going to spend 30 minutes. I'm almost there. I have a scheme here which shows the linkages among the different components of PAQAF and the APAQAF initiative and the Continental Accreditation Agency and all of that, all within the framework of harmonizing our quality assurance operations. Now, that's the end of the story from this point of view of Johannes. Now, let me go to a presentation that was made last week also in our conference in Accra, which gives an update on APAQAF initiative. And this presentation was given by Paula Rani, who is Deputy Director, European Association for Quality Assurance in Higher Education, part of the implementing consortium for APAQAF. So what's Paula saying? Paula is saying that APAQAF initiative is part of an EU service contract for 2015 to 2018. And the consortium that's implementing it is University of Barcelona coordinating. You have AAU, DAD, EUA, and ENQA as complementary partners. So what's the objective of APAQAF initiative? The objective is to contribute to and support the harmonization of higher education programs and the creation of a revitalized, distinctive, attractive, and globally competitive African higher education space through enhanced intra-African collaboration. I like that objective. And the overall idea, again, is to develop a harmonized quality assurance and accreditation system at the institutional level. So at the level of each of your institutions and mine, we've got to have that in place at the national level, at the regional level, and at the Pan-African continental level. So what's the contribution to PAQAF? As I said earlier, based on the presentation by Dr. Johannes Wolentase, is to implement the AU Executive Council decision on establishing PAQAF and to collaborate with European Commission and the Association of African Universities in getting this to happen. So the contributing to PAQAF, what has the APAQAF initiative done? It has done quite a number of things. It has developed the African standards and guidelines for QA. That's the ASG for QA. This is a major guiding document for the continent and to be politically endorsed. Capacity building is going on. Capacity building for institutional culture is going on. And the stakeholder buy-in, PAQAF promotion also going on. So the three major activities that APAQAF has for 2017, technical working group for the standards, the training course on common language for QA in Africa, and then the institutional evaluation to employ AQRM. So the training course has been implemented. There were two groups, French and English. I'm sure some of you in this meeting or this conference may have been part of the training. There are 39 participants altogether, 24 from the Francophone, 25 from the Anglophone. And all of the other things that I have on this slide, which you get, are part of the training course. The institutions that were part of the training I have on this following slide is a table for the ministries, for the accreditation bodies, from universities, and for regional partners. For the Francophone, we have 24. For the Anglophone, we had 24. The topics for the training I've presented on this slide. I just take one of them. Quality in higher education, the meaning and concepts, tools and targets, roles and responsibilities, and these others. Topics of the personal action plans I've also listed on this slide, which you will get. And the results of the training course, quite impressive. I also have these listed here. Now, the technical working group for development of the ASGQA. Now, can somebody tell me what ASG is? The lecturer is asking you. This is by way of assessment. Okay, that's fine. Okay, don't worry yourself. At the end of it, there'll be a test, and there is a prize for the top 3 people who will the top 3 in the group. There's wonderful prize. The first prize is a car. It's a brand new car. The second prize, the second prize is a brand new motorcycle, and the third prize is a brand new bicycle. So now, the technical working group for the development of ASG QA, they have the first draft 4 languages. We had online consultation. The second draft, September 2017, and the final draft will be by January next year, which will be used to develop the QA agency model and all of that. So I provided on this slide the technical working groups and the names of people who are listed. If you are from Egypt, there's Professor Johansen 8, who is leading the Egypt group. Kenya, Dr. Rispa Odongo. Namibia, Mr. Mox Shivute. Mali, Professor Abdul Karim Kumare. Mozambique, Professor Jeffy Mukora. Nigeria, Dr. Noah Biodun Saliu. Namibia, Mrs. Anneli Williams. And Belgium, Mrs. Cathy. You have all of those elements, those people there. The drafting process is going on, online consultation going on, and we have responses from 310 respondents already from 40 countries, and we're considering the feedback and making adjustments. So what are the next steps on the ASG? Paula tells us consultation workshop going on, finalization, the plans for communication, and then political endorsement. The next steps in the initiative will keep building capacity for QA agencies. We'll further be supporting quality culture and institutional self-assessment. So as I close, what is there for you as participants at this 5th AMC conference? Now, what we want you to do here is to be aware of these developments. Incidentally, anywhere we go and we meet a fresh group of QA people, they seem not to be aware of these developments. So the idea that when talking with AMC for this conference, let me now use another opportunity that we have to share these developments with you. Because you see, you will not, it's something that is coming that we cannot escape from. None of us seated here will escape from PAQAF reaching us, because all our presidents, all our ministers have signed onto it. So we are now in the developmental phase, and we're all going to be part of it at some point or the other. So the last thing I'd like to mention is that since we are now aware, we should all strive to be part of the successful implementation of the initiatives. So I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts with you. I close by letting you know that I'll be sending the slides to you, and I will send you the full report and the video of this session. So maybe we can slide into the question and answer session, and I would like to yield to Amanda to guide us here.
Thank you, sir. Any questions?
My pleasure.
They're asking when are you sending the car? You've distracted them.
No. I'm sending the car only when we have. No, the car is coming. I'm sending the car only when we have done the test, and I know, Amanda, how many people are attending this course, this conference?
We are 25 in the room.
How many in the room?
25. Sir.
Oh yeah, 25. So I'm going to give the test, at the end of this session, and then the top 3 will have those prizes, and the car, the motorbike, and the bicycle will be sent as email attachment to you. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, so we have spent I think just about almost like 30 minutes. So I wait questions if there are, so we can wrap this up and I can meet my obligations to you.
Okay. I don't see any heads, Professor. I don't know if they are full or what's wrong, but everyone is smiling, no questions.
All right, that would be nice. So
you're saying they're not used to online stuff.
Yeah, we should be. Now in the age of technology, I think it's important that we take maximum advantage of the technology that's available to have our meetings. Yeah. So that, now that we don't have any question, I'm preparing your test. So be prepared to take the test in another 1 hour. Yeah. So thank you all once again. I wish you well for the rest of the conference, and I look forward to sharing the video of the recording of this with you. But that will be later in the evening when I will have put the video together. But meantime, I'm going to email to you right now the slides for this presentation. Once again, thank you for the invitation, and enjoy the rest of the conference. All right.
Thank you so much, Professor. We'll keep in touch.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye now.
One. Thank you, Professor.